Welcome into the March Madness from Lead in Kentucky. I'm the Lead Network party. Got Cole Park from the Cat's Paws here. Cole here from you in St. Louis, man. So how's it going out there?
I am in St. Louis today. All about the whole spectacle behind the spectacle. Everyone's watching the March Madness games. Everything is going on. The exciting results. I'm over here in a media room, in the locker room, talking to players. Press conference room, talking to coaches. I was in the Santa Clara locker room early this morning. Kentucky locker room a little bit after that. Heard Herb Sendek, a couple Santa Clara players at the podium. Otega Owe, Denzel Aberdeen, and Mark Pope at the podium. Got some work done in the media workroom. Paid $20 for a cheeseburger that was not worth $20. And elsewhere, we're back at the hotel now. Got me a little bit of dinner. So apologies for the little bit later episode, but got me a little bit of dinner. Now we're back at the hotel. Got about 4 or 5 stories up today. Gonna get 2 more up before we call it a day and get ready for tomorrow when for everyone else that's not in the media workroom, the madness officially begins for Kentucky.
That's right. That's right. So for those that listen, uh, we appreciate everybody that watches on YouTube or listens on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast. Y'all know that we talk food every now and then, and Cole talks about his chef skills, and Cole says he doesn't eat, but we have to eat. So when in St. Louis, here's my question. I'm rambling. I'm taking the long way around. When in St. Louis, where did your palate take you? Did you go toasted ravioli? Did you go St. Louis barbecue? None of the above. We already talked about the $20 cheeseburger, but that was earlier. So where did your palate take you this evening?
Well, for a long time I had strayed away from it, but up until lately, my girlfriend got me to open my eyes once again to the world of sushi and fallen head over heels. So when in Rome or St. Louis, I went and got a St. Louis roll at a sushi restaurant.
Okay. Sushi scene was pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I tried a St. Louis roll. It was I'll have to look up what's in it. I vaguely remember from the menu, but once I ordered it, I kind of just was like, whatever's in it's in it. St. Louis roll is cream cheese over. No, that's not correct. That is something completely different. It was some kind of salmon with cream cheese and I think some kind of vegetable in there, but it's beyond me. It was pretty good, whatever it was. Dunked it in some soy sauce, and we were on our way.
Better than the cheeseburger sounds like.
Without a doubt, yes.
Hey,
The cheeseburger needed ketchup to be palatable. Um, and even then, it took me back to, you know what it took me back to, Vinny? It took me back to the middle school cafeteria. Middle school cafeteria vibes.
yeah, that's all you need to say. Right? They were hitting this, and the pizza was good, but the cheeseburger sometimes you got a bad middle school cheeseburger. So Kentucky plays 11:15 your time tomorrow. Santa Clara. You mentioned Herb Sendek, former Patino assistant. Crossed paths with Mark Pope when Mark Pope was coming to Kentucky. Um, Sendek's memories of working for Patino were like a lot of players' memories of playing for Patino. So so we heard his uh, presser a few weeks ago reminiscing about his time. So this guy's familiar with Kentucky, knows Lexington, knows the Cats, knows Mark Pope. Um, and here we are in the tournament. His wife and him met because of Rick Pitino. So a lot of storylines and all that. And when they tip it up tomorrow, what are we expecting?
Ooh, I wrote an in-depth piece kind of looking at that for the Cat's Paws. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick called What You Need to Know About the Santa Clara Broncos. In that, I detailed, this is a team that's going to want to shoot a lot of threes. They're very good at offensive rebounding, so they like to shoot a lot of threes and then create second chance opportunities to usually shoot more threes. That can work against Kentucky. It can work in their favor if Santa Clara isn't quite hitting. I detailed a few players. Their big three tends to be Christian Hammond, Elijah Mahi, and freshman Allen Graves. Of note with Graves, I highlighted in terms of some of his weaknesses. If you're going to exploit those, he does like to get into a little bit of foul trouble. I'm not saying he likes it, but he tends to do it a lot. So maybe try to exploit that if you're Kentucky. You also have Sash. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Great 3-point shooter for the Broncos. He's really, really good. I believe he said in our press conference that he was Bulgarian. So shout out Bulgaria. Um, Probably the only one that will ever listen to this podcast that knows more than 5 Bulgarian soccer teams right here. So um, shout out Ludogorets Razgrad. Actually, don't. I hate him, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
Was that one team or two?
That was one team.
Okay.
It's the team that wins the title pretty much every year. So
So basically, the Boston.
I wish Boston won as much as they do. I
Oh
really do.
wow!
I
Wow.
think it was maybe not quite Bayern Munich levels in Germany of winning like 20 in a row, but something along the lines of that. So ridiculousness. But regardless, random Bulgarian fact for the day for any listeners out there. They're a very good team. They're well coached, and something that really struck me today is talking to the players in the locker room, at the podium, and Coach Herb Sendek. Um, they didn't offer a lot in terms of what they're scouting on Kentucky. They talked about the pedigree of the Wildcats, obviously the level of the brand, but they didn't talk a whole lot about the scout because, as Sendek would put it, we're focused on us. So they're very much so taking the mindset of they're not an underdog, that they're just like any other team, and they're focused on their team, not necessarily the other team. So we'll see how that goes with Kentucky tomorrow. Obviously, it's a very trendy upset pick for a lot of people out there making brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Best wishes to everyone listening that maybe your bracket's still intact. Mine is not. So, had to throw a little fade the Cardinals' way. They avoided the upset against USF. That's on me. I didn't know the Bulls would go non-existent from beyond the arc. That's on
Yeah.
me.
And Louisville
Also,
couldn't
I
miss.
said, yeah, also I said there's no way High Point beats Wisconsin. It's too obvious. Maybe it was too obvious for a reason. And I thought I was just going to rip it up and throw it away when Duke was down double digits to Siena, but they ended up pulling that one out. But I did get that Nebraska ball would get their first ever victory in the NCAA tournament. So shout out to Fred Hoiberg for that. Great success there. Enough rambling about March Madness. I don't even know what the scores of the games on are right now. I've been pretty dialed on eating food. So, but yeah, that's a lot of the key points that I highlighted on Santa Clara. They're a very good 3-point shooting team, a very good offensive rebounding team. They're very driven and focused on themselves right now, and they've got some great players, both veteran leaders like Elijah Mahi and young guys in Alan Graves as well. There's a reason the WCC was a 3-bid league this year in Gonzaga's final year in the conference, and it's not just because of wanting to have another West Coast team in there. It's because all 3 of those teams were very, very good. And sure, Santa Clara doesn't quite have the wins that stick out to you the way some others would. They do have 2 wins over St. Mary's, but people like to fade St. Mary's anyway. I think they're in a close one with A&M right now, last I checked.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 23-22 A&M. Texas up 35-31 on BYU. Michigan 50, Howard 42. UNC 37 on VCU.
Picked VCUs. That's not good for me either, but we'll roll with it. So, regardless, yeah, they're a very good team. Do I have Kentucky losing? I should probably keep my mouth shut. I tend to be a bad jinx, but in my bracket, who's to say? But I think Kentucky's very capable of beating this team, but it's also not a surefire victory, as you can kind of tell by the way people are picking this matchup.
Did you just Mark Pope that question about do you have Kentucky losing? Just the way Mark Pope kind of did the Yaxel question. Is that what you just did? You sidestepping over there, Cole?
Can't speak to that. I think someone should dig real deep, do their due diligence with reporting.
Now, are
We'll see.
you an
That's
ethical
UK in the second round.
you an ethical journalist, a noted journalist with ethics? Because you're not the one in your underwear just reporting whatever. So I mean,
All I'll say, Vinny, is you cannot see below. You can't see below the chest of the team. No, I'm kidding. I like to think I am. I try my best to be ethical and report accurately. I like to ask questions in the locker room, ask questions in press conferences, do some stuff behind the scenes, and try to. I liken myself to more of a storyteller at times than a breaking news reporter, though I try to break some things here and there if I get some tips. But I value telling stories, so maybe I'm on Pope's good list. He seems to like people who tell good stories, but a lot of fade toward the media today. For that question, I wrote a story for the Cat's Paws that's up now, kind of just detailing what was said and what the implications are. I think that we can all read between the lines, and Pope is seeming to insinuate that the story written by the AP, said by Axel Lindeborg, is not accurate. Um, Personally, when I heard it the first time, I was like, that's odd. That's one of those stories that like you get a buzzer goes off, you're like, really? But I did still write that the way he went about answering it is a bit odd. This was not the case of just some nobody reporter tweeting something on an Instagram account. This was the Associated Press. This was a quote
Mm-hmm.
from Yaxel Lenneborg. So from there, your options are either say nothing about it, say he's a liar, or say it's true. And he chose none of those options. So it was a bit odd the way it worked out. Kind of feel like it's stepping on a rake that didn't need to be stepped on. It kind of feels like it's a big story then that's blown up today that didn't really need to going into a big matchup
Yeah.
tomorrow, but
Uh,
it is
let
what
me,
it is.
let me see if I can do this and pop up. Are we seeing what Cal Tucker tweeted? Yeah. Hey, I'm trying to get, yeah. And I'm just along with what you're saying. And the reason Mark Pope's comments gets discussed so much is now because he said so many weird comments this season. The elite coaches I've spent my time around are highly effective, usually efficient communicators. And I kind of like the way you put it in your article. I mean, you didn't go one way or the other. You cited the reasons that it was a little sus that he said what he said. He also kind of cited some reasons why he might go that route, but you at the end of the day, you kind of was like, I mean, what? Just another kind of weird media interaction in a season full of them to me, Cole.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Anyone who disagreed with Yaxel doesn't believe him anymore now after those comments, and anyone who did agree, like thought he was telling the truth, isn't really swayed by Pope's comments because without a hard yes or no, it kind of just feels like the whole thing is a nothing burger at the end of the day. I even said in that story, at the end of the day, going into the matchup tomorrow, it does not matter anymore. It's just
Yeah.
whatever. But it just feels so unnecessary. With Cal Tucker's tweet, I agree with a lot of what he said. I do push back a little bit. Some of the best coaches, I mean, John Calipari seems to just find controversy anywhere he goes. He was trying to, I remember last year, he was trying to give credit to South Carolina and accidentally made them upset by implying they didn't belong in the SEC. Um, but regardless, while there are plenty of coaches who take plenty of missteps here and there are some who, we're not going to pretend that Dan Hurley is a perfect orator in terms of how he delivers his messages all the times either. I do think that part of the reason these comments feel as significant as they do is because I get that this is only his second year at this kind of stage because BYU is good now, but BYU didn't have the kind of financial investment they have now before when Pope was there. So this is kind of his biggest stage. Not kind of, it is his biggest stage he's been on. And it's Kentucky, which is always going to be far more under a microscope than most other programs will be. But it has been an odd season in terms of some of the media interactions, some of the quotes we've been given, some of the way things have been handled. It's been all over the place. And I think that in some ways, this is a nothing burger, but also it's kind of the latest um, icing on a cake that has been a whole season of just, it feels like a lot of missteps to me. And that's not necessarily a criticism of um, anything to do with coaching, anything to even do with the team itself. Um, just feels like a lot of things were worded in a way that, felt like they created a story where there didn't necessarily need to be one.
And on that note, is we're looking forward and talking about the current, the pressure you just heard, the locker room interactions you just had, but flashing back to last Sunday, the no bracket party get together at all. Now, your thoughts? You covered every single thing that can be covered this year. Your thoughts on did you? Well, I'm fine not going. I'm cool that he didn't. I mean, Maggie Davis, friend of the podcast, said, "Hey, I actually watched the bracket selection show with my husband for the first time in ever." So But if we're a 2 seed and we're 28-3, do you think something is had at Rep Arena, or where you come out on it? Because this is the same kind of thing as what we just talked about. Is it a nothing burger? Maybe, but is it a bad look? Is it a misstep?
So I come at it from two angles. I can hit on the team angle first, the personal angle first. For the team angle, um, probably, to be blunt, I think that if this season had gone much more the way that we thought it would, if this Ferrari had gone for a spin the way we thought it would, probably there was some kind of watch party. Realistically, I think that the up and downs of the season, the noise out there. I got a great quote from Cam Williams today. On that note, let me pull that up because he had something that a lot of players don't want to admit, but he did. Um, his quote, I believe here I have it pulled up. Um, why I thought I had it pulled up. Question mark. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Sorry. He said, "quote We hear everything. I think that's what I think that's what gets confused with media players type thing. We hear what they say all the time. We just choose not to respond because if we do respond, it's unprofessional. But players across all sports, they definitely see what's being said about them and stuff. And a lot of players won't admit that, which I kind of respect that he did in some ways. They're obviously they know the noise, they know the controversies this season, they know how up and down and how vitriolic it can be at times. So to that point, yeah, I do think that if they'd been a 1 seed, a 2 seed, if this had played out the way we thought it would, if they're SEC champions, there's probably a good chance there was a selection show party. Personally, on the personal side, I don't care.
Yeah.
Similar to Maggie, uh, I think that in a lot of ways, those watch party things, while we do sometimes get a little bit of interviews before, we've sometimes gotten to get some quotes here and there, and that's always nice, to get a few like immediate reaction quote stories. They're more for TV than anything. It's more so you get like the initial clip, and if you're not looking to record and you're just looking at the press conference, I mean, I remember one year we did it at John Calipari's house, and that was some of the worst internet I've ever had to deal with in my life. Um, so that was a more of a disaster than anything. To me, I personally enjoyed being able to be at home. I was with my girlfriend, had my papers out. I kind of like drew out a bracket so I could fill them in as they went along. I was able to get myself prepared, ready to go, have everything like laid out for me and just have it on the TV. That was personally a lot nicer for me than it would have been to have to be at a public thing like this because I was able to get my seating story up immediately and then immediately start getting to work on breaking down Santa Clara, everything about them, everything you need to know about them. I got that story up pretty quickly. So personally, I preferred not having an in-person watch party. It was a lot easier for my job, but to the team front, yeah, I mean, I understand why some people are frustrated. I understand why TV people especially were frustrated when the clips of the team reacting to their seed, the clapping, the cheering, the looking at the matchup. I mean, everyone remembers when Kentucky drew Providence and you could see, I think it was Jacob Toppin say, "Oh, that's Bryce," like
Yeah.
those moments are cool and they are good for clips on TV when the news comes out that night or when, the 11 o'clock news is airing talking about the seeding and they can use those clips. I understand why it was frustrating for a lot of people, but for me personally, I really didn't care. I do think there is some level of if things had been better this season that there probably would have been. But with the way they have gone, if they say they want to have a private team moment, I don't really care. It made my life a little bit easier. So
Hmm. And it by them not doing it, it just opens themselves up to what's happening. know?
yeah,
So and because and everybody's different. Cal had it every year, regardless of the record, regardless of the seeding. Towards the end when it was, you know, not going great, he still had it. Uh, I was set to go out there that year, and COVID shut it down, so I didn't make it to his house that year. But you know, it's just it's year three for Mark Pope for everything. So you know, next year is make or break, is what I'm saying, for everything. All the media stuff, of course, the record on the court. A good run in this tournament could erase a lot of the bad feelings that everybody have developed throughout the season and give you momentum to make it easier for him going into that year three. But it's all just building to, yo, man, if unless they surprise us, if they're one and done, two and done, then it's like, hey, man, year three, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at the Cats pause, we've drawn a lot of comparisons to the 2014 season. That's a season that was also very up and down. Sure, they had maybe more individual talent on that team than maybe some other teams have, like this one. But
They
that
also
was a
didn't
team that
get
was,
blown out as much, even though
yeah,
they
you
were
know,
losing.
yeah, you know,
I mean, the losses looked a
who's
little
Who's to
closer.
say? Who's to say? But regardless, that's a team that pretty much completely flipped the narrative about their season with the tournament run they went on. That's
Yep.
not impossible for this Kentucky team by any means. I think that if this tournament run goes well, they make it to a second weekend again, maybe even, God forbid, make a Final Four or a national championship. Um, Even if they don't win at all, I think that there is still a way that this season's not a failure in a lot of ways. But I do tend to have to agree that I also think it's worth noting the 2014 season came after the NIT Robert Morris season. So shouts to that. Rest in peace, Nerlens Noel's knee, I think. But
Yeah. Hmm.
regardless, um, I do think that next year is really going to be the year where we make a lot more definitive statements on how successful things have been. I'm probably not as critical of Mark Pope as some other people are for a lot of things. I think I even said in a tweet once, like there's been a lot of criticisms all year long about the roster construction. Sure, but once the season started, there's not really anything that can be done about that. That kind of all goes to next year. So we'll have to see if that's something that's fixed next year. With some of the media things, there's been a lot of weird quotes and a lot of weird unnecessary hiccups, but a lot of that's going to be forgiven if they just win games. Those are stories that only tend to be bigger deals when the wins aren't there. I feel like we all had however many years of John Calipari. You're willing to let a lot more go whenever the wins are coming in, whenever the top recruits are coming in. You're willing to allow some of that nonsense to occur, and then people got a lot more tired of it when the first round exits started and the losing started, the losing to UNC Wilmington and Evansville and Rupp Arena started. That's when people started to get tired of those Calisms. But those weren't. It's not like obviously he got worse about them as time went on, but that's not to say they weren't always there. It was just when things were winning, you don't care as much. You're like,
Yeah.
whatever, that's annoying, but sure.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that there is a lot riding on next year in terms of how it goes. I still think there's a lot riding on this year and how this tournament run goes. If they lose to Santa Clara, it's going to be real uncomfortable this offseason. We just
Yeah.
have to keep it honest. It's going to be real uncomfortable. I
Hmm.
think if they beat Santa Clara but get blown out by Iowa State, it's still going to be uncomfortable. I think that, you're in a tough spot right now. It's not impossible to get out of. It's not even improbable to get out of. And there's everyone who's out here saying like, whatever, he's gonna get a year three. Let's not be ridiculous here. He's gonna get
Hmm.
a year three, and I think he absolutely should. He went to the Sweet 16 last year with a team of mid-major transfers, essentially for the most part. So, I think that this year has definitely not been what anyone was expecting, Pope included. But if next year also starts to be not what you expected, then you start having some real uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
will also just say it's crazy how fast that can change, though. I mean, we were just talking with John Calipari. I know he had the national title beforehand. That puts a bit of an asterisk on what I'm about to say, but you miss the tournament altogether and go to the NIT. The very next year, you're up and down. You're all over the place. You're seeming like you're trending towards another early exit, and then you make a run to the national title, and then right after that was the near perfection year. So it's crazy how fast all of this can change. I mean, we've seen coaches win national titles in their first year. We've seen coaches take a little while to get there, and we've seen coaches get 2 seasons and they're out of here. So it's been a very mixed bag with Kentucky, and it is really crazy how quickly things can completely flip. And it's great when they flip for the better. It's not so great when they flip for the worst.
and it's the year twos really is just Joe B and Eddie Sutton that were on the struggle bus in year two.
Billy
Uh,
Clapp.
But yeah, but yeah, he's like we like Men in Black Billy. We try to forget those 2 years even happened. But Tino is on probation in year two. Would have won the league if not for being on probation in year two. They're 22-6. They can't get their name on a trophy and all of the stuff that comes with it. But like Louisville's title that got vacated. Everybody knows they beat Michigan in a title game in 2013.
I didn't
They,
see a thing, Vinny.
it's,
I did not see that title game. Did not see that title
oh,
game.
I was I was go blue so hard. I was such a Wolverine that night, and it just didn't work for me. But 22-6, they win the league. Tubby had already won a championship in his freshman year. So I mean, unless you repeat, it is going to be a little bit of a dip. Cal year two goes Elite Eight
Of note, on the Tubby
final.
thing, you know where that came to an end?
What, St. Louis?
St. Louis.
Yeah.
St. Louis.
Yes. But
It's also where Joby won it all. It's also where Joby won it
Yes,
all.
Jack Givens drops 41. Tayshaun Prince drops 41.
They call
So
him Goose.
yes. So man, a lot of history in St. Louis, Missouri. So
You want more
uh,
on that? Read the Cat's Paws. I did a
absolutely.
full 2,000 word breakdown on everything they did here, from the SEC title to a home and home series Adolph Rupp had with the Billikens back in the day. So
Travis Ford used to coach there, who is now moving to Little Rock. So
second time in the OVC, he
yeah,
formerly led in the OVC before they left for the ASUN. Your or my Eastern Kentucky Colonels.
absolutely. EKU, St. Louis, Oklahoma State. And now with Little Rock, he's just got a deal. The ink is still drying, I guess, on the contract. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder. I was just thinking out loud. I don't know. I wonder if John Pelfrey goes and joins him on staff. I don't know. He's not a head coach right now either, and he just
Yeah, that one sucks to
oh
me because clearly things weren't going well there, but also I hate to be that guy, but I don't know that anybody's going to get it going well at Tennessee Tech. That is a brutal job. That is where, in many cases, careers go to die.
uh-huh. So yeah, it was cool that that was I don't know. The season's been so up and down. It was cool that he was able to bring his team in, and from the former Cat perspective, and everybody remembers him on the 92 squad, with Mashburn, nearly beating Duke, along with House and Richie Farm, all those kids from Kentucky that everybody's so fond of. Sean Woods from Indianapolis being the point guard, but yeah, so or maybe with his wife's health not being great, maybe he just like, look, I'm just gonna be with my wife. Whatever he wants to do. I just thought out loud.
Yeah.
Travis is going to Little Rock. Pelfrey got some free time and maybe wants, we'll see. He'll have his staff soon enough, and that question will be answered. That was just where my mind went when I saw the news of him getting that job today. You mentioned the Cat's Paws. I've been finally getting some stuff, pictures and video and all that. So I've been putting your tweets up to your articles as we speak. So yeah, y'all follow Cole at the Cat's Paws. Follow him on Twitter. We got the Cole Park underscore WSC. So y'all check him out there where all this content is coming from. Like you said, got two more stories coming after we do this show. So yes, it's halftime for Texas BYU now. We talked about Santa Clara. Man, what else? The open practice. You were there for that. Saw some reports that they seem loose. What kind of vibe could you
Uh,
glean?
To me, I feel like most of the time the open practices, I look at them, but they tend to be more for show than anything because they're not really going to give you anything too crazy there.
Mm-hmm.
Pope did his usual, asking the fans to be quiet for the last 2 minutes of the practice. It's something that he's done quite a bit. It's something they like to do, just have silence for the last 2 minutes of their practices to kind of let their guys. It sounds almost backwards at times, but it worked out for him last year too, let the guys be in their heads a little bit to hit those shots, to kind of, I guess, maybe practice drowning out noise and just being comfortable in a silence in a big scenario. So that's something they always like to do. It's something that's interesting, but they did that. putting up some shots. They did look pretty comfortable. Um, had a fun quote from Malachi Moreno today where he said that it doesn't sit right with him the way people are picking Santa Clara in the bracket, and he's ready to go bust some brackets. So, I think that this is a team that, especially after the SEC tournament, winning 2 games in 2 days, hanging close with Florida when they weren't playing their best game and their third game in 3 days, they're confident and they think they can beat Santa Clara. They've heard the chatter, they've heard the noise, they know a lot of what's riding on this, but they're ready to do it. So I think that, again, I don't usually tend to take too much from those open practices, but I do like seeing that they don't look super tightly wound. They look like they're ready to go. They look like they're confident and comfortable, and that's all you can really ask for from Kentucky at this stage.
Was Nashville about what you thought to win two and probably not lose to Florida? Is that how it played out like you thought or not?
Yeah, I thought it was the most likely scenario. I thought that beating LSU was an absolute must, and they took
Yeah.
care of that. Going into that, I said that the only thing that can't happen is you cannot lose to LSU. That was the only thing that you absolutely cannot have happen. Once they cleared that, it was more so if they lost to Missouri, that would be disappointing, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. And I think it was very good the way they handled that, the way they overcame a great game from Mark Mitchell. Um,
Mhm.
you had the big three on the offense with Denzel, Ortega, and Collins scoring in double figures to lead the way there. Um, I do think that it might get underrated because people maybe don't view Missouri as well as they were back in at one point in this season. I was a bit surprised they weren't sent to the first four personally. Texas was. Um, but I do think, as far as the committee is concerned, avenging one of your losses we've known is an important thing to do. So it was good for them to get that. And if anything, I left the Florida game feeling a lot better about things than I had beforehand because yeah, everyone's not going to like losing to Florida 3 times in one season. Everyone's not going to like leading them or trailing them the entire time, rather. But I
Yeah.
also think it's worth noting that saying a team never led does not necessarily mean that team was never in control for any stretch, because Kentucky absolutely was in control at certain points. They just preferred to dig themselves holes before they started doing it. And they did tie the game at one point. So that's something. But if anything, I was more reassured about the notion that going forward, there's never going to be a scenario in which Kentucky has to play 3 games in 3 days again. 3 games in 3 days, you get Cam Williams back, you're not having your best game, and you're able to lose by single digits. Again, I'm not moral victories are not what Kentucky's about, but with how up and down this season's been, I felt better about their chances being, third game in 3 days against a genuine number one seed and a national title contender. I don't really care what they did to what did against Vanderbilt after that. They're a national championship contender, and they hung right there with them after having played 2 games right before that and overcoming great performances, great individual performances in both of those games.
I don't know. Maybe I am hung up on it a little bit more. I mean, I just wish start the game, go to the hole, get fouled, and hit a free throw. Just go at 1-0 at least. Just if that
Yeah.
in one of those games, could we have left for a second? But it
There
didn't
was a
happen.
brief second where I thought they could make a comeback, and then Colin Chandler fouling out. And again, I'm not one who likes to criticize officiating too much. A bit of a questionable foul out call. I mean, when he's got 4 fouls, that's a bit of a questionable one to call, in my opinion. As soon as he went out, I was like, well, that's about gonna do it, probably. Not that Colin Chandler's the best player on this team, but he's a player that you absolutely want on the floor in those late game scenarios. And as soon as they took him out with like 4 minutes to go or something like that, I was like, it's probably not going to happen, Vinny.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I
now they
also thought, I also thought when they finally tied the game, I was like, just one bucket, just take a lead for 2 seconds. That's all you have to do, please.
yeah, yeah.
But no, couldn't quite get it done, and that's the way the cookie crumbles at the end of the day.
And then you allow, Todd Golden to go up there with the SEC network guys. We played those guys 3 games. They didn't lead 1 second. Man, he's not lying, but you allowed him to do that. And
I think that Todd Golden's reaction hurts more than the Gators actually doing it to me. If I'm being honest with you, it bothers me more that he was being so smug about it on TV than it does that it happened, period. If he'd have been super humble about it, I would have probably not cared that much. Maybe that's just a me thing. I probably would not have cared that much if it wasn't so obnoxious
Yeah.
after the fact.
And that's what you opened it up and allowed him to walk into that door, and of course he's going to, you know. So he can't not. He's just gotta, twist that knife in a little bit deeper, and so
But
it was
Vanderbilt got the
nice.
last laugh.
Yes, that was nice to see, and that was such a shock. I was out and came home and saw the score. Didn't see any of the game. It's wow. So yeah, and potentially they could meet up again if it falls that way. So we'll see. But I kind of see. I think I had Houston knocking them off in a rematch. Uh, Houston, let's be honest, had them last year in the title game. Houston had them beat. So
That might have been one of the worst. There's been a lot, but in terms of watching the national title, that might have been one of the most deflating endings to a game I've ever seen in my life.
yeah,
What was that?
yeah,
What was that?
it's
He
rough,
just
man.
he had to just let it go and then just stared at the ball.
Hmm.
I was
Yes,
in shambles, Vinny. I'm not even a Houston fan or a Florida fan or even really that big of a hater of either. I don't like it was a truly neutral game for me in most ways, and I was in shambles. I think I was on my hands and knees on the ground, like full surrender cobra, just like no way this whole season comes down to that play.
yeah, yeah, unbelievable, man, unbelievable. So, one more. I think I had one more of your stories pulled up. I thought or had planned to trying to get them all up here since I finally figured out how to screen share on StreamYard, and that was a me problem. That was
Would that be
good.
talking to Jaden Quaintance for the first time?
Absolutely. How did you ever? Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah. Apologize to y'all. We should have been doing this a long time ago, but I finally figured out how to halfway do this stuff. So there we go. Uh Cole Park told y'all he was cranking out the stories, and he spoke with JQ,
Hmm.
and Cole let us know, man. What he say?
Well, he was reading One Punch Man in the locker room, so any One Punch Man fans out there unite. Also, not in the story, but I did find out he's a big Attack on Titan fan. So
Mm, okay.
unite. But no, in all seriousness, it was an interesting interview. It was the first time we've gotten to speak to JQ in quite a while. A lot was asked in terms of um, one, is he going to play? We already most likely knew that was not going to be the case based on what Mark Pope said on his radio show earlier this week. JQ's answer was similar. They're not ruling anything out, but he even admitted it's probably unlikely. The swelling is still lingering around. He also addressed some of the, he addressed some of the things people have been saying all kinds of things about JQ, about, we'll just say there's a lot of opinions on Jaden Quaintance online right now. It feels nice to say. And to his point, he said that people are going to say what they're going to say, that he doesn't run his own social media. His father does. So it doesn't really concern him.
Mm-hmm.
But that it has been extremely frustrating for him not being able to play. He says, I've been here every step of the way watching my guys try to fight it out. They've been doing well without me. They've been fighting, but it has been frustrating. He said they've tried platelet rich plasma shots, they've tried steroid shots, they've been icing it, all kinds of different shots, and just nothing is really getting that swelling down to the point that they're comfortable with. Um, he said he does have his strength back fine, but it's the swelling that is the problem. He's been doing his best to try to get that going. He also said that his team, he said it doesn't really matter what everyone else says, his team knows how much this means to him, and his goal is still to come back, no matter how unlikely that seems at this point in the season. Um, so just a very interesting conversation with JQ. About a lot of the things that have been going on. It's kind of just a tough situation. It's always the case with injured players, usually, but especially one of this magnitude with the NBA draft stock, with the 4 games, with the NIL aspect now. It unfortunately we kind of been in a place where apart from occasionally asking Mark Pope, how's he doing? We've kind of been in the dark. We haven't really heard his perspective on these things. We haven't really heard anything he has to say, anything about the noise, anything about, it's kind of been because of that Cam quote, like the players see everything, but they can't actually respond to a lot of it. So it's kind of just
Mm-hmm.
been as if he's just a wall that people are just hurling insults at, and we haven't really got any kind of uh, response, explanation. So it was nice to finally get a little bit of that. Of course, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. You can think anything you want of his responses. You can, believe him, not believe him. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It was interesting though to get to hear some of his perspectives, what did bother him, what doesn't bother him, how he's feeling at this stage in the season. If you want my expert opinion, which is not very expert, I don't think it's likely we ever see him play for Kentucky again. I just think that the odds are stacked against that. I mean, if it's not this weekend, you have to hope that they make the Sweet 16, which we've already discussed is not a guarantee. Iowa State's a very, very strong team. Or,
Mm-hmm.
God forbid, the Tennessee State Tigers go on a run, St. Peter's style. Who knows? But
Yeah.
um, regardless, it's a tough ask to even get to a second weekend. And then the idea of bringing a player back in the Sweet 16, it's a tough sell. So even if they say that's still the goal, it still seems unlikely to me. But it was at least interesting to hear the response because I've seen and heard so much of the accusations, the thoughts people have, the insults that people are hurling. So it was interesting to hear his side of the story. And anyone is free to believe it or not believe it. I was simply telling the story as it was presented to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. All the perspective, all the angles you got, all the stories you got, and two more to come. So y'all get to social media, get to your cat's paws. If you're subscribing and all that, you'll get access. So check out what is coming soon.
Ooh, I will say I wanted one more quote I got to tell you. Cam Williams might have just given me the craziest quote, one of the crazier quotes I've gotten in my career as a journalist. In that story you put on screen earlier this episode, about his foot. I got to keep. I did a very lengthy story during the SEC tournament about the foot injury, the road to recovery. I'm very proud of that one. Give that one a read if you haven't yet. But I was able to catch up with him a little bit and just talk to him about how he's feeling now, what some of it's gone. And I just want to read this quote to you, just
Mhm.
as it was said. He said, probably a ways to go. He was asked, if he's close to 100%. He said, probably a ways to go because it takes probably like another month for the bone to actually heal, but it doesn't really hurt like that.
Mm.
What? What do we mean? What do we mean it takes another month for the bone to heal, but it doesn't really hurt like that? That's crazy. That is crazy. Dude's a dog. There's no other way to put it. He said I can run and jump and I feel good. So, um, you got to respect the grit. You really do.
Yeah, yeah, like that. So yeah, it doesn't hurt like that. So and if you remember how he got hurt, just jogging back down the court and just boom. And so to go from just running down the court, I'm cool, to pain, my foot is broke, to now I'm playing, even though I'm a month away from being healed. That's hey, yeah.
You gotta respect it.
Hmm.
I will note of that within that original story, the lengthy one that I detailed, the journey to get back, the injury when it happened, all of that when he made his debut back or return back, not debut. He told me that whenever he first injured it, he didn't actually realize how bad he hurt it. He wanted to go back into that game before they were like, dude, you broke your foot. You're not going back out there. And that's when he kind of realized, like, oh, this is a bigger thing than I thought it would be. He also told me that, from the moment even after he knew, he said, "I'm coming back. Like, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. I'm coming back." So, you gotta love a player like Cam Williams. Fingers crossed that nobody steps on that foot because running and jumping is one thing. Probably don't want anybody stepping on it, but you love to see that kind of grit. You love to see that kind of determination. And Cam Williams definitely rising on my favorite Wildcats tier list. So.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Oh, we talked about brackets getting busted as always when the tournament starts on Thursday. Um, High Point taking out Wisconsin. We already mentioned Cam Fletcher and Tubby Smith, and uh, you us as Kentucky fans, we have Tom Leach and Jack Givens. The voice. They both been on this podcast before. You listen to other schools. It's this guy, it's that guy. Tennessee is now Mike Keith, who was with the Titans guy, and Chris Lofton does some of those broadcasts too. Um, you know what you're getting with Tom and Goose. Tom is pretty professional and measured, and you know they'll they'll call it like they see it if it's not going well, and especially Goose. If the effort's not there, he'll this you got to do this. You got he played, he won a title, he knows what it's like. The when the NCAA tournament starts, I know I'm rambling. You're not able to just, especially if you're out of state, you're not able to just click iHeart and listen to WLAP on your phone. The NCAA puts a kibosh on all that kind of stuff. You're not able to get access to, your broadcast. So there's the Varsity app that you can download, and it gives you uh, calls from both teams. Like, was it Louisville and South Florida? Just pull up the app. You click on Paul Rogers from Louisville, whoever it is from South Florida. Listen to whatever you want to of your choice. I was driving home, had Wisconsin on first, and I don't remember who it was, and they were doing their thing. It was back and forth. As it got closer to crunch time, I flipped over to the high point, and these are two young dudes, man. I don't know if they might be your age or younger, Cole. They're young guys, and I had not heard them before. They had apparently already gone viral for the call in the conference tournament when High Point won the league. But it is Griffin Wright is one of the guys' names, and I tweeted it out because I gave him props. Griffin Wright and Rosilio. Let me find it real quick. Scroll through, but let's see. Griffin Wright and it's Jimmy. I want to get it right. I should already had it up, but anyway, I should be able to get it. This is some video, not from today, but from a little bit. They were rallying in the conference tournament, and these guys, these dudes, man, are something else. So let me see if I can get it, because they are. Hey, let's see. See if we can get it up. Here's the video. Y'all bear with me, and here we go.
Three. It's good off the bank. Anderson down the paint. On the foul. Oh, not low, but he gets the layup to go. Isaiah Wilson. Hildebrand for three. It's good. Simon Hildebrand. But he fights back for his own rebound. Venom way out. Oh my! He is away. Trey Venom. Full court. Goes to nose. Trey Venom. Incredible. And one. Here comes the Panthers. Medford. Kick out. Deal. Three. High wing, back to Medford. Theum! From way downtown.
I do remember that. That was last year's conference tournament when they won. I forget who they lost to in the first round last year. I think it was Purdue. That was last year, and they made it obviously High Point in their second year in the NCAA tournament. They pulled a McNeese State, Vinny. They pulled a McNeese State. They couldn't get it done year one. Year two, they come back and they get the upset. They move on to the second round. Hopefully, they'll do a little bit better than McNeese did and maybe take out John Calipari's Hogs while we're at it. But
yes,
we'll see.
So today, I missed them when they did this, when they went viral, and so I don't know, something just told me. I said, let me just flip over to the High Point guys, and it was that same energy. Just forget your own press row. There's one time they're like, "Oh my God, we're on press row," and oh, have mercy! Oh, they're gonna review, and then they were like, "Oh, is this happening? Is it happening?" The suspense was killing them. Both of them, Griffin Wright, Jimmy Rosselli. There's the other guy. So, but more of what we just saw in that clip, and it was even more magnified because they actually took down a big dog, took down a Big Ten power in Wisconsin.
Ooh, how about that quote from their coach after the game too, though? A little spicy after there.
you might as well flex. Get that
He said no one will play
WWE
us. He said
mentality.
they said we ain't played nobody. We played somebody now. You know what? Keep those receipts, man. Keep those receipts.
Yeah. So props to them. And so the High Point fans get these dudes every game, which is hilarious. It's a treat, man. It's a different way of calling the game. Just beyond Homer, you can play it down the middle if you want. You can maybe kind of try to act like you're not a fan, even though everybody knows you are, and you're employed by the network and all that, or you can just be unabashed. Yeah, and it was have mercy. Oh, it's happening. They were like hyperventilating in unison at one point because they
Man,
couldn't
I
wait for
think
those
I was
5 seconds.
hyperventilating at one point. When Cameron Fletcher missed that free throw and they got the ball back, I was like, "Oh my God, they're actually gonna lose!"
Yeah,
And then the shot
yeah.
goes nowhere near the actual net. They get the rebound. It was such a roller coaster of emotions. I can only imagine what it was like to call that one. I've always been of the belief that when you're sitting at press row, you got to be responsible. You got to be, calm, collected. I think that all goes out the window. If you're a play-by-play announcer, be whatever you want to be. We all know that the big emotion moments, a call can make or break those sometimes. So, media people on press row, keep your composure. Do your thing. If everyone's going crazy, it's one thing, but don't be over here making a bunch of noise, clapping on press row. But if you're a broadcaster, if you are doing the play-by-play, go buck wild, man. Create some moments, create some clips, build up hype for your team, and make your team unforgettable.
Yeah, for sure. Because we even asked Tom if he had cussed on air before, and he said he hadn't. And we were like, "Well, you called the Bluegrass Miracle with Saban and LSU. If you didn't cuss on after that game, you're not going to."
Yeah.
So basically, and one of those guys cussed on there right before they ended the stream. We're gonna end the stream. We'll see you on Saturday. We get to stay to it, but it was just pure joy, like you said, just all out. And so, props to those guys, and to make the tournament, and everybody think you're just gonna drive out there for one game and season's over, and now you get to stay, and you're in round 2, and so
I think that's something that goes underappreciated too. Not to do the media angle, but everyone thinks of these seasons and like when they lose a game, their season's over. But it affects a lot more people than just the team too. Like obviously I still have a job after they lose this game. I'll still be covering Kentucky folks, but like it really is like everyone that has followed this team, it's like this is it. Now it's portal stuff. Now it's
yeah,
what happened. Now it's learning a new team. It's let's look at some spring football. Let's look at baseball. Like it really is the final chapter of so many things when you lose an NCAA tournament game. So some people are the opposite. Some people want it to be over as quickly as possible sometimes, but when you really love what you do, especially like those guys at High Point who you can tell are just having a blast doing what
yeah,
they do, having a special season, you really do, even for media that's not super pro Kentucky, for example, even if you're not outwardly Homer and I'm not like me personally, I don't say that I'm ever like going to a game like, man, I just really hope Kentucky wins. But when it gets to March Madness, I want it to go as long as possible, man. I want to go to a Final Four. I've never been to one. I was over the moon to go to a Sweet 16 last year because I'd never been to a second site in the NCAA tournament before.
yeah. Wow.
You think that obviously the games get bigger stakes, but it's cool for everybody. You get to bigger arenas. You get more national people are there. It's a really cool experience. Seeing the cities when you like. It's such a special moment when a team wins, and it sucks when a team loses, but it's also it goes far beyond the team in that way too. And the fans understand that some, but especially people who, the last however many months of my life have been focused on this team, learning everything about this team, talking to these guys, talking to these coaches. And, no one, I'm not going to say no one because some people do, but when it keeps going like that, it's a special moment for all kinds of people attached to that program. And then when they lose, it's tough for a whole lot of people attached to that program, the media included.
From the brutal locker room to the realization to wrapping your head around to finishing what you got to do to come back home, and yeah, it's It's more than two. It's
I've
more
had
to it.
some quiet drives home, Vinny. Some quiet checking out of my hotel, packing my suitcases, driving home in near silence. Like it sucks sometimes. It really,
Yeah.
really does.
For sure. For sure. So hopefully you are in St. Louis through the weekend, and then we I think it was so good.
VCU just tied it up with UNC with 2 seconds left.
Oh, let me flip over there. I've just had Texas and what's it called on. I just flipped to Michigan.
Yeah, they're cooking St.
I was,
Mary's. I don't want to say I called it, but I called it. Also, Texas up on BYU. I don't want to say I called it. Yes, I do. I called it. Hang on, Longhorns. Let's go. Also, I picked VCU over UNC, so this could be an all-time trio right here for me. I guess if you want to throw
Yeah.
Michigan Howard in there too, but I feel kind of bad sliding Howard like that. Like they were always going to lose to Michigan, so I'm not going to claim that one as I called it. It's
Wow. Yeah, it's 2 seconds. 2.9. 75 apiece. Wow. Yeah. Oh, here we go. We're inbounds. Fixing to bring it in. Yeah. And Roy Williams to see. I'm waiting for them to pan on Roy Williams. They have not. Looks like Phil Martelli. Is that Phil Martelli? Just a dude that looks like him. Yeah. If Roy's got to be there, I'm sure he's traveling with him. He's always there.
If Martelli's there, is that where Illinois and UPenn are about to play? Because Martelli Jr. is the coach at UPenn. No, it's not. He's the coach at VCU.
Oh, going to overtime. North Carolina stole the inbounds play, raced down court, and got a decent look to win it. But now we're going to overtime.
Yeah. So, I think Martelli Jr. is the head coach at VCU now. He was at Bryant, and now he's at VCU, I believe.
Okay. It's like he.
I got it on my
phone. It's like he squatted on a out route and just pick six that thing, man.
Wow.
Great.
Overtime for the first time this year in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, here we go. So we'll put a bow on it right there and let everybody hop off. We got 2 more Cole Park stories. We got games to watch. We got the Cats coming to you at noon or morning for the people in Missouri and St. Louis. So should have Justin Rowland on here Tuesday. We'll be talking about the season ending or extending and some spring football. Kentucky baseball is playing Ole Miss right now. I hadn't even flipped over there yet. So that's a top 25 matchup down there in Oxford for Coach Mingione. Cole, appreciate you and appreciate everybody took the time to listen and watch and subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate all of that. Retweet us, tell your friends about us, share it. All that good stuff. It just helps the show grow, helps everybody find the podcast. Appreciate the Believe Network for letting us come to y'all each and every episode. And for Cole Park, this is Vinny Hardy. We'll say go Cats. It's March Madness. Let's go. See y'all next time.